Even one of my deep-pocketed person were like, this looks great. Let me know when you can find me a deal like this. I don't want to be passive. I was like, crap. Okay, won't count him. So through the process and having more direct conversations as I'm now presenting these more similar, with similar returns in this out-of-state way, I've definitely come across certain people that want certain things. So I have my separate buckets for them. For instance, that guy that isn't looking to be passive. Okay, well, maybe there's an opportunity to be a joint venture where, I'll connect you with someone looking to do a deal, and maybe they don't want to cut the pie up that much, or it's a relatively small raise, 200,000, $500,000, something that this guy could write one check for. Then you can all be active partners in the deal, and I'll just be the connector essentially. So I always have different operators, different ideas of what different people are looking for. Some people are like, only stick me in the big markets. They're like, what the hell's happening in Louisville, Kentucky? I don't understand this. I haven't done any research. Okay, well, all my investors that are invested there are making a lot of money, but I can get you the rest of the info on Louisville. But then when we were working on a deal in Austin, Texas, suddenly it was, where do I send my check? And so I'm trying to keep, it's hard to call 200 people every deal, especially because the time frame to raise the money is relatively short. So I kind of cherry pick who I know might be more interested. Again, for the Austin deal, the brokerage I work for is Keller Williams Realty, which is headquartered in Austin, Texas. So multiple conferences a year there. Every Keller Williams agent, even if they've never even been there, have heard from all their friends, oh my God, Austin is awesome. Cranes everywhere you look right now. It's a hot market. So it's a pretty easy sell. Everyone's fairly educated, but a lot of people want to go with where they know. I have a lot of people that only want to invest locally. So question 2 and 3, did I hit that?
Do you use like a CRM or some sort of a system?
I'm getting there. I'm very archaic. This is also the weakness in my brokerage business. Hiring assistants and everything to keep me organized. Yeah, I need to, especially my new email address for Shum Capital, which I had to formalize. So many bounce backs, so many technical issues. So I need to get some kind of constant contact or MailChimp for that blast. But again, kind of overlays with how I approach the brokerage business. So I have hundreds of people I can ask, hey, what are you using that's best for you? Because everyone's got a different likes or dislikes of different systems. So.
And I'll throw this, maybe just pass it like this way. So when you guys are looking at investment summaries and screening potential deals, are there red flags for you guys that you look for that you know not to take to investors?
Typos.
Typos? Okay.
So there could be a lot, but jokes aside, I see a lot of typos, and to me it's a red flag. If someone who promised to do a due diligence on X $1 million deal, whatever it is, or even if it's 500,000, you have to take a few minutes to review your content and make sure there are no typos, that everything is written in a proper format, that that the words are used properly. You'd be surprised, but there are so many times. There was one example. I had a deal come in my way from a CPA who was an operator, and he forgot to account for other income when he was calculating his total income. So to me that was a no-brainer. He wanted to syndicate. I said I'm not going with that. Other than that, you mean mistakes or red flags or both?
Well, that goes to your point earlier about doing your due diligence on the operator, but deal specific or property specific. Are there things that are red flags, like structural issues, or things that you just would absolutely stay away from the deal standpoint?
Sure. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is when I see the proposed strategy that says increasing the rent by, let's say, 300,000 in the area that's C plus or B minus, to me it's a red flag. I don't think anyone in that area will be able to afford such a hike in rent. Or if I see that the loan terms are very short, or it's interest only for a couple of years and then it's an arm. So to me that's a red flag as well. I also look at the income statement as to what the proposal in terms of the rent increases and expenses increases. If let's say the going rate in the area to increase rent by 5% and they're increasing the rent by 3%, that's fine. But if the rent increases are more significant, to me, that's going to be a red flag. Same goes for expenses. I want them to be as careful and as conservative as possible when it goes to dropping down expenses. On top of it, what else? There was something else. So if I see something that sticks out again in the income statement, if they're planning to go from 50% expenses to, let's say, 30 in year 2 or year 3, to me that's a red flag. In no way you're going to be able to drop your expenses that fast. So that's another red flag. Also, if the operator is planning to do a value add strategy and they have a significant repositioning in front of them, then my expectation is that they will have a vacancy of at least 10% or more in the first year, or at least the first 2 years. And if I see the vacancy rate much closer to 3 to 5%, or jump it from, let's say, 10% to 3% in year 2, when the repositioning is going to last 18 months or 24 months, to me that's another red flag. Because no matter what, if you're turning in the units, then you need to take some time to reposition them and then to fill them in. It's not going to take overnight, it's going to take much longer, and you need to account for that in the underwriting. So that's another red flag to watch for.
Excellent. Anyone else want to expand on that?
Yeah, I'll just quickly add to it. So when we're raising capital, it's just for our own deals, so we're not raising for other projects. So I'd like to say, if we're going out and bringing a deal to our investor base, we're comfortable with the deal, and we're putting real dollars in on every deal ourselves. So our reputation and our ability to grow the business is based on delivery of returns. And again, it just goes back to reviewing what an offering is. So I tell my investors, listen, a lot of times they just they're like, oh, okay, this is the number, I'll give you money once you get comfortable and so on. And I say every time, listen, I want you to really take a look at it. I want you to understand why we're doing this deal. Half the time they're like, Dave, just be quiet, I don't want to hear anymore, which is a great thing at times, but it also helps you reinforce why they invest with you. But if you are looking at a deal, whether you're looking at something we're offering or you're looking at another investor, you should take your time, ask questions, understand their due diligence and their projections. So I'd say, again, be diligent.
Excellent. And just passing the mic down and keeping on the theme of red flags, what are some red flags that pop out for you guys when you're talking to investors? Like, whoa, maybe this is the right person for this deal.
So from my recent experience, I can tell you, I actually visited the property before pitching out to investors and stuff like that. So I was able to verify the rents, because the rents increases, if you haven't been there physically, and if you're seeing rent increases of 8, 9, 10% over 1 or 2 years, maybe in some cases it might be possible, but sometimes it might seem too much. So actually going to the property, looking at that, talking to the broker or the property manager, seeing other properties around there, that is definitely good. It helps you understand, and when you're talking to your investors, it helps you talk to them with much more confidence than just looking at the OM and talking to them and stuff like that. So, I think that's...
Repeat red flags on investors.
Investors, almost like investors may be pushing back too much, or
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Yeah. Yeah, if they're asking too many questions. Which, no, let me elaborate on that. Obviously, here to help. I mean, the role I try to create myself is, well, the number one job is not losing anyone's money. So looking out for the red flags is job number one. And I like having that broke down the percentages, because operator is huge, as we've all said. I've said no to a lot more deals than I've said yes to from outside operators who asked me to come on as a general partner. And for the whole variety of reasons. Didn't like the property manager, didn't like the exit numbers. You can't get a C-class property to sell for new construction pricing. It's impossible. Just knock it down and rebuild it, then maybe. But as far as the investors side, so I'm here to help and educate and make sure everyone's comfortable with what they're doing. I wouldn't want anyone putting their money in if they're not 100% comfortable. But there's definitely a certain point that there's certain things they don't need to ask for unless they're actually the operator, you know? So there's only so much information that's physically able to be given out so that they can make the right decisions. So if they're just clearly not at the comfortability stage and they're asking for, you know, rent deposit slips or something, like, there's only so much you can see. You're passive. Find your own building and be a sponsor if you want to know all this stuff. This probably isn't for you. So that's probably the only really major red flag that I could think of.
Well, we're going to do a couple questions and we'll jump into Q&A. So, David, question for you. So there's new investors in here, right, that have gone down the thought learning process or are ready to go out there and take action, but haven't thought about how to brand themselves efficiently. Now you've grown Alpha, you've grown Concern, you've created 2 great brands. If they're starting that process, what are 2 things they should look at from a branding perspective to put their best foot forward?
I think it's just being authentic, understanding what your limitations are, putting a team together. Go small first. People say go big. You know, you're not going to go out and tackle a 250 unit when you haven't bought a piece of real estate before. And the one thing that I've always said is that, you know, I love working with people and I really enjoy coaching, and, you know, not that I coach people, but if people ask, I love to spend time helping them out and understand.
Line in.
What was that? But the great thing about these investor communities is that there's lots of people around. You got to figure out who's good to talk to. But like, Jason's amazing. He's an open book, and spend time looking at it. Maybe you're not. Maybe you want to become a syndicator. Ask to look at our syndication docs and look at it. Maybe you participate in a deal, or you just start to understand. You have to put the building blocks together. And the one piece I just want to finish on with this is on the capital raise side. I think what you have to kind of get is that you're talking to some investors and figuring out what kind of dollars do you think you can realistically raise. It's hard to understand day one, but let's say you think you could raise $200,000, whatever it is. You have and maybe it's from 10 people with $20,000. And I think what you do is you try to go out to the market and find something that you can really deliver on. It may be hard, it may take a while, but go out and talk to them and say, listen, I'm trying to build a diverse real estate, a diverse investor pool so that I can scale my business. Like I said, I have people that could come in and write the full check to do this deal. And it's more work for me, but it's more important for me to build diversity. And you can tackle that deal, deliver great returns, and guess what? Those 20 people are gonna go to the next cocktail party or somewhere else and brag to their friends how well they did with you. And the next deal, you do a little bit bigger. So take baby steps. You know, work with other people that are actively doing it and become a student of it. It's not rocket science, but it does take time, and don't get overwhelmed. Come to the events, look at these things, set realistic expectations that you can hit, and take it, you know, one step at a time.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, Alina, so a couple people have started meetups in here. We love it, right? Alina, talk about, you started a meetup, you have a blog. Talk about how those have been beneficial in creating a thought leadership platform for your business and helping others. Give us 3 main goals from it.
Okay. So in terms of the goals, it's always about helping others, making sure that you giving back to the community and helping others grow. Because if other people are growing, you're growing with them. So that's the idea that I had when I started my meetups in New York and New Jersey, and I figured that since the type of population I get in the city versus Jersey is probably slightly different, I should start both places and see how they're gonna go and maybe drop one. Well, it's been over a year and a half and I haven't dropped either one of them, still going, but they're very, very different. The atmosphere is very different, people are different, and not to say one is better or worse, it's just it's very different environment and you get very different feedback. I've even had to the point where I had the same presenter come to both meetups and the outcome was very, very different in terms of the level of comprehension, the environment, the type of questions you were getting. So that's all important. So if you want to try a couple of things, don't just stick to one. Try both, see how they go, and maybe you'll decide, later on which one works best, which one works worst. But in terms of building thought leadership platform, in order for other people to see you as an authority, you need to be able to give back through sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise with others. And how you do it? Through thought leadership platform. It could be either a blog, it